rough start to the 2024 season for the Miami Dolphins continues as the 1-3 record was not enough. Jaelan Phillips, the young star edge rusher, is out for the remainder of the season. If you remember on Monday, he left the game against the Titans in the second half with a knee injury. And Mike McDaniel yesterday already ruled him out for NFL Week 5 against the New England Patriots, but did not know how long it would be. Well, Jaelan Phillips announced today by his own message on Instagram that he will be out for the remainder of the season with a knee injury. Now, it is still not clear what the injury actually is. It is not specified to us here in the media or anywhere publicly if it's an MCL, if it's an ACL. All we know that Jaelan Phillips is going to have reconstructive knee surgery and will be out for the remainder of the year, which is just a brutal blow, not only for the Miami Dolphins roster, but for him personally. Obviously, most of you remember last season, forget the exact week, but Black Friday against the New York Jets when he suffered that torn Achilles at MetLife Stadium, cost him the rest of the season, miraculously returns to be able to be ready to go in Week 1 against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and it was just an awesome story, and now he's going to have to miss another season due to an injury, and it stinks not only for him, but it stinks for Miami as well. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel because whenever news breaks, we are going to talk about it and break it down for you here at Dolphins Today. We're still not going anywhere, even though this really feels like a season from hell for the Miami Dolphins. We're not leaving. Trust me that. All right, but you saw the numbers on screen just a second ago. Even though Phillips is one of the young stars on this defense and someone that Anthony Weaver relies on, and this team built their defense on this pass rush led by Jaelan Phillips, he hasn't been the most productive, but that's not the point, right? Because you would have liked to see him play on the field, completely return from the Achilles injury, develop and get back to his old ways, because he was on pace last season for about 14, 15 sacks before the injury. Getting off to a little bit of a slow start this year, only one sack, that one occurring in Week 1 against Jacksonville in the fourth quarter to help complete that comeback. It's not like Phillips is having some unbelievable statistical season, but when you think of what Miami now has to turn to on this team, right? They have Emmanuel Ogbah. They have to go to Chop Robinson, the first-round pick out of Penn State that went 21st overall. You're going to have to rely on Mohamed Kamara, the fifth-round pick from Colorado State, who has been inactive for every single game as a healthy scratch. And now you will have to talk and use Quinton Bell quite a bit, while Bradley Chubb still remains on the PUP list. It is just now one of the more strengthened positions on this team to now one of the weakest. And that kind of feels like the, underlying tone of this entire season for the Miami Dolphins. And Adam Schefter had the note here that Phillips will undergo surgery with hopes of returning in 2025. I don't know why he said hopes. Is this like the worst knee injury of all time? Like, he's getting surgery in the first week of October. Most recovery times would allow you to return in the year of 2025, but that's neither nor here nor there, but whatever. When we're talking about what now Miami has to go from here, right? And I think there's a solid chance that they end up ultimately going out and signing another edge rusher, just due to the fact that with Bradley Chubb still on the PUP list, you're going to need someone to be the lead dog for this Dolphins pass rush. And this Dolphins defensive line, think of where it was last year. Christian Wilkins, Zach Sealer, Bradley Chubb, Jaelan Phillips, Emmanuel Ogbah. Now you're going to be talking about a group that has Calais Campbell, Zach Sealer, Emmanuel Ogbah is your best edge rusher, Chop Robinson, Mohamed Kamara. And we've had a lot of discussion over the past week or so about Chris Grier making mistakes, whether it be not addressing the quarterback two, not addressing the interior of the offensive line, and how I've criticized and critiqued his selection of Chop Robinson, the 21st overall pick, in the draft, because I would have rather drafted Graham Barton to help shore up that interior offensive line. But now you sit here and in hindsight is just like, well, thank goodness he drafted Chop Robinson, because if he didn't, where would we turn to on this Dolphins defensive line and edge group? Like, I don't know when Bradley Chubb is going to be able to return. It has already been the minimum 4 weeks after he was on the PUP list. Not sure of when he is going to be able to return. He's also coming off of an ACL injury that he had at the end of last season. So you don't know when he's going to be able to come back. And for the time being, you're really going to have to rely on the rookies, man. Mo Kamara, Chop Robinson. They're going to have to play their hearts out. And luckily, I will say this luckily, you have one game left against the worst offensive line in football, the New England Patriots, this upcoming Sunday. And then you have a bye week. So if you just make it through, this week, beat New England on the road, then you're going to have 2 weeks until your next game against Indianapolis in Week 7, which could allow you to get healthier, start the game plan, and potentially sign a defensive player as well. We're going to talk more about that in just a second, but we do got to show some love to Game Time. The best way to get your tickets, whether you're going to a live sporting event, comedy show, concert, doesn't matter. And with the new feature called Game Time Picks, which allows you to filter out the fluff and see the best seats for the best price, it is the only way to get your tickets. And, well, if I'm going to be honest, when I went to LSU USC a month ago in Las Vegas, I used Game Time to get my tickets like I always do. I get the lowest price guaranteed. I got to see the view from my seat. And the all-in pricing feature is also one of my favorites. It allows you to see the total price of the ticket up front rather than getting blindsided at checkout, because who likes to be blindsided unless you're Michael Orr and Sandra Bullock? So make sure you get your tickets with Game Time. Download the app today. Use code CHATSPORTS to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but again, create an account, redeem code CHATSPORTS to get $20 off your first purchase. Shout out Game Time. What time is it? It's game time. All right, when you really start to think of what Miami does next, and obviously he's going to be placed on IR. He's going to be out for the remainder of the season. But you just simply got to go out and try to find another edge rusher. As much as I'm intrigued to see how Chop Robinson does, it's not like he's done anything so far this season, and he still has such a long way to go until he is ready to be an effective all-down player. He is still not good against the run. And teams are going to simply just run right at Chop Robinson. He's got the athleticism. He's got the speed. He's got the bend. But I'm not sold on his ability to stop the run, and I don't think you guys should be either. I think he could be a really fine player in his career, but so far in 2024, he only has 4 tackles. He has no sacks. Like, he hasn't done anything crazy. And obviously, you're going to hope that he ultimately is able to prove why he was a first-round selection by Chris Grier back in April. But this Dolphins team is just going to have to find a way to generate pressure. So if we're going to be honest, Anthony Weaver, the defensive coordinator for Miami, he's just going to have to dial up way more blitzes, utilize his linebackers a lot more in terms of Jordan Brooks, Anthony Walker Jr., getting pressure, sending heaters on opposing quarterbacks, because you simply just cannot sit back, rush 4, and expect to get pressure every play. I don't care what offensive line you're going up against. Emmanuel Ogbah, Chop Robinson, Mohamed Kamara, and Quinton being your 4 edge rushers right now is not going to net you a ton of pressures. Now, Zach Sealer and Calais Campbell, on the other hand, are doing a fantastic job on the interior of that defensive line, and maybe that's one of the solutions. You move Calais Campbell more out to that edge spot. He's played it in the past, and you play more Deshaun Hand or Brandon Pillai on the interior defensive line and kind of have a more stronger run defense, if you will, anyway. But it's just absolutely brutal, and I hope Jaelan Phillips is able to recover nicely, because what looked like a very promising young player, first-round pick about 3-4 years ago, already had his 5th-year option picked up for next season. I mean, he's going to miss year 3 or half of year 3 and all of year 4 now. It's quite the bummer for Jaelan Phillips. One-word reaction to Jaelan Phillips news. Heartbreaking for me. That's it. I mean, it sucks. For us as fans, sucks for him as a player. It's obviously going to hurt him financially as well when he tries to get paid in free agency or an extension, because he's now had a torn Achilles and potentially a torn ACL, MCL. It's not specified right now. You have both those injuries before your 4th, 5th season. Oh boy, that's not good. So that really stinks for him. But make sure you are subscribed to the channel, because we are going to make sure you are covered on everything. Like I said, probably going to drop a video tomorrow morning on some replacements, either via trade, either in-house, on free agency, that Miami could try to replace Phillips with, because it feels very obvious that they will be signing someone to the active 53-man roster to replace Jaelan Phillips. So simply they have to do it because they only have 4 edge rushers on the roster, and one of them has not even been active for an NFL game to this point. So make sure you're on the lookout for that. Man, it sucks for Jaelan Phillips. See you tomorrow.